Welcome to this video on the Zenware channel. My name is Sri Satguru Buddha Roa Bhagwan, and I am the Kalki Avatar. Today we're going to talk about the Siddhi power of telepathy. Okay, so basically we're going to discuss how to develop telepathy, what are the things you need to work on to develop telepathy, why you would want to develop telepathy. You don't want to start getting stuck in the wrong approach to Siddhi powers, because telepathy is a Siddhi power. Okay, and there are different types of telepathy. Okay, but basically telepathy is an important development on the spiritual path. Okay, a lot of people have talked about how Siddhi powers can distract you from the path of enlightenment. Okay, so basically it's a way of seeing things, right? It's basically remembering the Dharma. Okay, so basically as you move forward and grow spiritually as a being and achieve heights at the spiritual lokas, okay, where you exist as a light being, okay, as you grow at those lokas, you grow spiritually here as a being, okay, and as you develop and grow, you will acquire new abilities and powers, new intelligence, new knowledge about the system and all this, and you will basically develop the ability to understand things for what they are and how they really operate, and this gives you the ability to do certain things that other people who did not have that understanding would not have. Okay, as in all things, for example, a scientist can build a wonderful machine, okay, for example, that an average person cannot necessarily even imagine or build. Okay, so when you're specialized in a certain field, when you're specialized in yoga, okay, you develop certain abilities called siddhis. Okay, so siddhis are not to be feared, they're not to be shunned. Okay, they actually are what allows the application of power. Okay, the application of practice. So when it comes to the full understanding of how to use Siddhi power, that'll come only after enlightenment, right? So some people may develop different abilities, different understandings of the system at different stages of their spiritual practice, and as their spiritual practice evolves and they remember the functions that they represent within this system, this computer program, and what they really are, they'll learn and understand what abilities that they have as an individual and what they can leverage as far as abilities to help further their path, right? But look at it in this way: Siddhi powers are good in the sense that they can assist the mission of someone who's enlightened, right? Or someone who has a specific mission, right, in this world, right? On behalf of the Dharma, for the Dharma, right? To protect the Dharma, to uphold the Dharma. Okay, but developing siddhis is not necessarily the goal, right? It's more just tools that you can use, right? Abilities at that level to basically advance your spiritual practice, right? And basically the spiritual practice of all of creation at the same time, okay? And all the systems that fall under you. So basically, one of these siddhis that you can develop, and you will basically, through spiritual practice, through the practice of Zenwara, and through different stages of the practice of Zenwara, right? The practice of the lineage of Tehan, the first warren, the first dwelling, okay? You will basically develop abilities, okay, that other people, that regular people don't have. Okay, this is this is true, and then one day maybe a lot of people develop these abilities, and one day maybe regular people have these abilities and less people don't have them. Okay, time will tell, but you will develop, since Zenwara is a form of yoga practice, is a lineage of yoga, right? The first lineage of yoga, okay, the lineage of God. There is the Siddhi powers that accompany that practice, okay? And one of the reasons for developing these Siddhi powers, okay, as a practitioner of Zenwara, is because it develops your mind, okay? And basically by developing and going through and acquiring these Siddhi powers as you move forward and your understanding of how to use them, okay, these can support your mission, okay, and your actions as an enlightened being. Okay, so that's why Siddhi powers exist. But also Siddhi powers exist to propel you to next stages of spiritual practice. Okay, because as you develop them, you're actually practicing yoga. It's a form of practice. It's a form of meditation. It's a right, of yoga practice, working, developing these abilities, understanding these abilities, acquiring knowledge about these abilities, a form of jnana yoga, but then also what allows you to do the physical application of yoga, right? Because you have union of the divine, right? But then you also have, your how do you basically help the world as an enlightened one, as an enlightened being? Well, your understanding of the world and how it works as you develop as a spiritual being become enlightened, right? And then when they potentially become reach the center of the Kala chakra in different phases of your spiritual practice. Okay, so one of these siddhis, okay, that you can develop is telepathy. And why we're going to talk about telepathy today is because telepathy is not a siddhi that a siddhi means a power, right? A superpower. Okay, and siddhi telepathy is an interesting one. Okay, we're going to talk about the form of telepathy that allows you to advance in your spiritual practice. As you advance in spiritual practice, okay, you may develop the practice, okay, because siddhis become a practice within themselves, within your practice, okay. You may develop the practice of developing telepathy. So understanding what telepathy is, okay, understanding how to do telepathy, understanding why telepathy exists within the system, okay, understanding how things connect to each other. So you can see, as you develop as a communication system and your ability to connect, right, as your yoga practice, right, which is to receive, to hold, and to project, right, the energy of God as a deva, right, and basically empower your kingdom as well and develop at the same time, and develop your kingdom and develop creation at the same time. And as people grow and develop, that's the growth of spirituality, the growth of creation, the growth and development of the story. The growth of the universe is represented here by the growth and the enlightened ones. As they become enlightened, it leads to the growth of creation, the growth of the universe. And that's why enlightenment, spiritual practice, exists within the system and is directly regulating the growth and story as we live it. Okay, so enlightenment is very important. Okay, so one of these things that you develop, okay, that you can develop, one of these siddhis is telepathy. Okay, so when you're developing telepathy, you have different things to consider. Okay, first of all, you have to consider the strength of your own mind. Okay, if you're going to be opening yourself up, okay, to another mind, okay, you need to have your proper safeguards in place to ensure that you're protected in that sense, right? Another thing that we've discussed in the practice of Zen, where on this channel, is the ability to protect your thoughts. So you should practice the ability to protect your thoughts before you even think about consciously having a communication telepathically with another being. Okay, so the ability to protect your thoughts. Beings exist on this planet, such as sentient stones that have gone bad, or that can try to affect your thoughts. So one of the practices of Zen is protecting your thoughts, controlling your thoughts. When you get a thought, understanding where does that thought come from? Is that thought really me? Is it a stray thought that's coming towards me? That's basically that I've received, and that's not really a thought that's me. So understanding what is a thought that comes from you and a thought that basically reaches you from another being, from another source. Okay, and basically controlling your thoughts. Once you develop controlling your thoughts, you develop controlling your mind. Okay, and as you develop controlling your mind, you develop the abilities of your mind. Okay, you unlock different potentials of your brain, of your mind. Okay, the hidden potentials, the hidden powers, the hidden siddhis. One of these siddhis is telepathy. You may have try to practice telepathy, okay, and you may basically try to communicate with another being. One thing is establishing the communication with the other being, understanding the communication systems that connect you to that other being, okay, and basically understanding how to connect. Another thing that's very important is understanding how to deconnect, okay, how to return and basically reestablish that sanctity of your own mind where you're no longer connected to another being with your mind. Okay, so you have to understand these phases. Then you have the stage of the connection, maintaining the connection. Okay, then you have the stage basically of communicating the information through that connection. Okay, the other person that you're talking to telepathically might have developed telepathy on their own as a being, or might not have done so. So that depends, the level of effort of the one doing the telepathy right? You can communicate with a being that has not developed that ability, but it's a higher level of effort than a being that has developed that ability, because you're basically coming in as a surprise to that other person instead of the other person knowing what's going on and basically knowing how to respond with minimal effort. So there's different levels of effort involved in telepathy. Are you communicating with a being that has also developed it, or are you communicating with a being that has not developed it, whose mind is less developed, right? Now what you're doing is you have the communication, okay? When you're talking to another being telepathically, you're talking with them with your mind, okay? So basically, when you look at it, there are advantages to telepathy and there are disadvantages, okay? When you're talking with telepathy, there's the form, are you just getting understanding directly, or are you actually having a conversation, right? A conversation, right? You're not hearing the other person's voice. You're not hearing voices, okay? So what you're doing is you're basically directing that conversation. So you're directing the communication channel that has been established with the other person as the establisher of that link of telepathy. Okay, so what you need to do at that point, right, is you need to basically, when you're doing telepathically, you send the message, so you think the message, that you're projecting, right, and then you think the response that you're getting back. Okay, and understanding the difference when are you really getting a response back from another being, or are you just imagining a response back? Okay, and learning to understand the difference, right? And then learning to understand when you've successfully obtained information through telepathy. So one of the things you might do is, for example, connect to another person and all of a sudden you know their name, right, or something like that. Okay, or you might know something like that. But you can also have a conversation back and forth. Okay, and what are the reasons for developing telepathy? It's not to implement thoughts in other people. That's a bad application of telepathy. Okay, that's not a good way to do it. Okay, except if, for example, you're an enlightened being and you know what you're doing and you're doing it for a specific reason. You're a deity, for example. Okay, well, maybe a deity is going to come talk to you in your thoughts and is going to come communicate a message to you in your thoughts. Okay, but basically, and I think that that's a good thing. It's good to know that. But you don't want, for example, a being that's a bad being that's developed telepathy. Okay, the ability to basically project their thoughts into another being, to basically come and push you towards doing bad things. Some bad beings might push you toward doing evil things like murder or something like that, or basically harming others or betraying someone or something like that, So it's important to understand not only where is the message, the thought that you're getting coming from, but also the nature of that thought. Is that a thought that basically conforms with your nature as a good being, as a deva, right? As a light being that wants to stay a light being and stay basically a being of God, that loves God and knows that God loves them back and that God loves all people. And to live that life, that better life, or do you want to lower yourself, lower your life? Why would you want to lower your life to lower levels when you can elevate your life? It's like, what's better, go down, go up? Let's go up, right? And if not, well, you're just either not too intelligent or you're not thinking things through, right? Why would you want to lower yourself or others or God or anyone, right? So, or any deities or anyone. So yeah, so a little bit more information about that. I think we're going to leave it at this for this video, and I hope you've learned some things on this video. If you like this video, as always, please do click like, subscribe, share the video for the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for listening.